Thank you for your participation in my research study. In this video, you will learn the basics of what is universal design for learning, the three principles and the guidelines that make up the universal design for learning. We will look at several websites that you can delve into to build on your knowledge for universal design for learning. And then we will look at the digital instructional planner and how to implement this knowledge into planning your lessons using the DIP. Universal Design for Learning is a set of principles for curriculum development that gives all students equal opportunities to learn. Universal Design for Learning provides a blueprint for creating instructional goals, instructional methods, instructional materials, and instructional assessments that work for everyone. Not a one-size-fits-all solution, but rather a flexible approach that can be customized and adjusted for all individual needs. Why is universal design for learning necessary? Individuals bring a huge variety of skills, needs, and interests to learning. Neuroscience reveals that these differences are varied and unique as our fingerprints. There are three primary networks that come into play. There is the recognition network, which is the what of learning, also identified throughout various websites as providing multiple means of representation. The strategic network, which is the how of learning, also indicated throughout the websites as providing multiple means of action and expression. The affective network is the why of learning, and throughout the websites it's referred to as providing multiple means of engagement. The affective network, also known as providing multiple means of engagement, is how learners get engaged and stay motivated, how they are challenged, excited, or interested. These are affective dimensions. Provide multiple means of engagement, which is also the affective network, has three guidelines. The first guideline is provide options for self-regulation. The second guideline is provide options for sustaining effort and persistence. And the third guideline is provide options for recruiting interest. Let's look at the first guideline, provide options for self-regulation. Beneath these are examples of promoting expectations and beliefs that optimize motivation, facilitate personal coping skills and strategies, and to develop self-assessment and reflection. The next guideline is provide options for sustaining effort and persistence. Examples are heightened salience of goals and objectives for the learners, varied demand and resources to optimize challenges, foster collaboration and communication, and increase mastery-oriented feedback. And the third guideline is provide options for recruiting interest. Here we allow students to have individual choice and autonomy in choosing how they want to stay engaged in the learning. Optimize relevance, value, and authenticity, making learning real to the students, and also to minimize threats and distractions that the student may be faced with. The recognition network, also known as multiple means of representation, is how we gather facts and categorize what we see, hear, and read, such as identifying letters, words, or an artist's style are recognition tasks. There are three guidelines under this principle. The first guideline is providing options for comprehension. Second guideline is providing options for language and mathematical expressions and symbols. And the third guideline is provide options for perception. Providing options for comprehension guideline, some examples are activating or supplying background knowledge, highlighting patterns, critical features, highlighting the big ideas and their relationships, helping students guide information processing, visualization, and manipulation, and to maximize the transfer and generalization of their new learning. The second guideline is to provide options for language and mathematical expressions and symbols. Examples are clarifying vocabulary and symbols, clarify syntax and structure, support decoding text, mathematical notation, and symbols, promote understanding across languages, and to illustrate through multiple media. The third guideline is to provide options for perception. Some examples are offer ways for customizing the display of the information, such as the size of the text, or the images, graphs, tables, or other visual content. Offer student alternatives for receiving the information via auditory, allowing them to access captions or automated speech-to-text. Offer alternatives for visual information, such as providing transcripts of what was spoken in a digital text and providing text for all the images and graphics and text for the videos and or animations. The third principle is provide multiple means of action and expression, also known as the strategic network. Here the student is planning and performing tasks. This is how we organize and express our ideas, such as writing an essay or solving a math problem, are strategic tasks. There are 3 guidelines under the principle of multiple means of action and expression. The first guideline is providing options for executive functions, to provide options for expression and communication, and to provide options for physical action. Providing options for physical action. Some examples are vary the methods of response and how the student is navigating, and optimize access to tools such as assistive technologies. The next guideline is to provide options for expression and communication. Some examples are using multiple media for communication, use multiple tools for construction and composition, build fluencies with graduated levels of support and practice. And the final guideline for providing multiple means of action and expression is to provide options for executive functions, such as providing them tools to guide appropriate goal setting, to support planning and strategy development, and to enhance the students' capacity for monitoring their progress. Let's take a look at the wiki space for Universal Design for Learning to see what links are available. Here's the DIP Resources wiki spaces on Universal Design for Learning. Here at the top you can see the professional development videos created for this research study are here. Here are 2 videos to orient you to what the Universal Design for Learning is. Here's an at-a-glance video and a video detailing the principles and guidelines and how to use them in your practice. These video links are presented in the UDL Part 2 free online textbook video. So let's take a look at these 3 links. The UDL Guidelines 2.0. Clicking here, you'll see the 3 principles of Universal Design for Learning and the guidelines listed below them. So for example, let's say that I wanted to work on how students are perceiving what they're reading. So I can click here for perception, and then under perception it gives me some checkpoints. How can I customize the display of the information, some alternatives for auditory information, and other alternatives. Under the next guideline, number 2, language and expression symbols, some checkpoints as well. And the third guideline, comprehension. So let's say I wanted to look at other ways for students to access the information using auditory information. So I can click this checkpoint. Here under this checkpoint, it gives me some more information on how to offer alternatives for auditory information. And if I want some examples, I can click here to get some examples and some resources. And here's a link for some free resources and example for how to utilize auditory information with your students. The next link that is very useful is the Goal Book Toolkit for UDL Strategies. What are the UDL strategies is listed here. This link will take you back to the original page that we were just at. So here are some strategies for engagement, strategies for representation, and strategies for expression. So under offering ways of customizing the display of information, let's look at some Online Tools. It takes me to the Online Tools section. So it gives me some implementation tips, some examples. So here, online games, online student portfolios. These sections are shaded out because you would need to sign up for a free trial to have full access to all of the tools. The last link is the UDL wheel. So I want to look at options for perception, so I can slide the wheel over. It provides me a pop-up window for option for perception and some ways that I can implement that with my students. Some examples of text equivalence, providing visual diagrams, providing written transcripts, etc. And if I click here for additional resources and information, it'll take me back to the checkpoint and the guidelines section of the Universal Design for Learning section. Now let's take a look at the Digital Instructional Planner and see how we can implement our new learning planning lessons using the DIP. Here's the Universal Design for Learning section, which has the three principles: provide multiple means of representation, action expression, and engagement. So if I was going to continue with representation and I'm looking at perception, I can click here. To identify the guidelines which I will be implementing, multiple means of representation, and I was looking at auditory information, so I can click here that I will be using alternatives for auditory information. You can do the same if you're focusing on multiple means of action and expression and multiple means of engagement. It is highly advised that when starting with Universal Design for Learning implementation in your lesson, that you start simply by focusing on just one section. For example, just focus on multiple means of representation. Once again, thank you for your participation in my research study.